Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine a scenario where a leader, someone who's held power for, well, an almost unprecedented stretch of time,
Yeah, decades, really.
exactly decades, and then suddenly finds themselves not just out of office, but, and this is the really astonishing part, facing a prison sentence.
It's quite a fall.
It really is.
Yeah.
That's precisely the dramatic turn we've seen unfold in Bangladesh. What I find particularly compelling here is just the sheer scale of that shift, from decades of almost absolute influence to a judicial conviction.
Right.
So today, we're doing a deep dive into the recent contempt of court sentence handed down to Sheikh Hasina, Bangladesh's longest-serving prime minister.
Mm-hmm.
Our mission really is to pull back the layers of this story, not just the legal specifics, but her truly fascinating, often tumultuous personal journey, the broader, perpetually turbulent political landscape of Bangladesh, and crucially, what this all could possibly signify for the nation's future, its identity, even.
And it really isn't just another legal case, is it? It feels more like a seismic moment. It reflects a pivotal, potentially defining shift in the nation's history.
Yesterday.
It's deeply intertwined with a leader's profound and, let's be honest, complex legacy, one that spans generations.
Absolutely.
So to truly grasp the weight of this, we need to look at both the deeply personal things that shaped her and the intricate political machinery at play.
Right.
It forces us to ask, how do power dynamics just suddenly shift like that? And what does true accountability look like at the highest levels, especially in a country with such a dynamic past?
So let's get straight to the heart of what just happened then. Sheikh Hasina, who, as we said, led Bangladesh for an incredible period,
An incredible period, yeah.
has been sentenced to 6 months in prison. This sentence, we understand, is for contempt of court,
Correct.
and it's effective from the day of her arrest or surrender. Now, it's vital to note this marks her very first conviction since her dramatic resignation back in August 2024.
That's a key point.
That's a significant detail, isn't it? After all those years in power, this is the first time a court has actually found her guilty of something.
It absolutely is. And the crucial detail here is that the sentence came from the International Crimes Tribunal, the ICT.
Ah, the ICT.
Okay. A body with its own, fascinating and often debated history. It's also worth mentioning that another person, Shakil Akand Bulbul, a former local chairman, got a 2-month sentence in the same case.
Right.
The ICT itself is interesting. It was originally set up back in 2010 to deal with the horrific atrocities from the 1971 Liberation War.
A very specific mandate initially.
Very specific. But it has faced scrutiny. Some see it as essential for long overdue justice. Others, mainly opposition figures and some human rights groups, have criticized its processes.
Concerns about fairness,
Yeah.
due process.
Exactly. Concerns about due process, fairness, and whether it's sometimes been used as more of a political tool than a purely judicial one.
Which brings us right back to the core question.
Yes. What exactly was the specific statement that led to this contempt charge against someone like Sheikh Hasina, a former PM?
Okay, but before we get to that specific statement, I feel it's truly impossible to understand the weight of this conviction without understanding Sheikh Hasina herself. Her life story is just so deeply woven into the fabric of Bangladesh.
It really is foundational.
She was born September 28, 1947, in Tungapara, that was then part of East Bengal. So she's literally a child of the era that shaped Bangladesh, born just weeks after partition.
Right at the beginning.
And her heritage is, well, monumental. She is the daughter of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, Bangladesh's founding father.
Bangabandhu.
Exactly. That connection, right there, it established this almost inherent link to the nation's political soul. It defined her whole life.
And her early life, her political awakening, it's quite compelling, almost like she was destined for this path. She graduated from the University of Dhaka in '73, BA in Bangla language and literature. But her education wasn't just academic. She was deep into student politics, held big positions, vice president of the Students' Union, secretary of the Students' League unit.
So laying the groundwork early on.
Definitely laying the groundwork, a path that seemed clear until, tragedy struck with brutal force. August 1975.
The coup.
The military coup. Her father, her mother, 3 brothers, 2 sisters-in-law, almost her entire family, assassinated.
Just horrific, unimaginable.
Unimaginable. She and her younger sister, Sheikh Rahana, were the only survivors because they happened to be abroad.
Wow.
And this profound loss, this trauma, it didn't break her. Instead, it seemed to forge this, iron will. It propelled her into leadership, maybe reluctantly at first.
Yeah, you'd have to imagine.
By 1981, while she was still in exile, she was unanimously elected president of the Bangladesh Awami League.
While in exile.
While in exile. Can you imagine the weight of that?
Yeah.
Chosen to lead the party from afar after losing almost everyone.
It's an incredible story. Almost cinematic, as you say. From that point, she eventually returns, navigates years of political turmoil, military
A
rule,
very difficult period.
and goes on to serve as prime minister, first from 1996 to 2001.
Right.
And then again, this long stretch from 2009 right up until August 2024.
Making her one of the longest-serving female heads of government anywhere in the world.
Globally, yeah. And yet, for all that longevity, it seems the very length of her tenure, while maybe bringing stability in some ways, it became a kind of double-edged sword for Bangladesh. How so?
It's a paradox, isn't it? And it really encapsulates a core dilemma many developing nations face.
Yeah.
How much political freedom gets sacrificed for economic stability?
The classic trade-off argument.
Exactly. Her legacy isn't just dual. It's a testament to that tension. On one hand, her tenure gets credit for truly remarkable economic growth.
You can't deny the numbers there.
No, average annual GDP growth of 6–7%. Bangladesh officially graduated from the least developed countries category in 2024. That's huge.
Huge milestone.
And we saw massive infrastructure projects. The Patma Bridge connecting the southwest to Dhaka, that's a game changer. The Dhaka Metro Rail finally getting built.
Tangible things people can see.
Very tangible. Plus, social welfare programs, the digital Bangladesh vision, pushing digitalization, connecting millions. These are undeniable achievements. They improved lives.
Okay, so that's the pro column, if you will.
Right. But, and this is the big but, where the paradox deepens her rule was also undeniably marked by persistent controversies.
Such as?
Widespread accusations of creeping authoritarianism.
Mm.
Alarming reports of human rights abuses, extrajudicial killings, enforced disappearances, significant media censorship.
Serious charges.
Very serious.
Yeah.
And crucially, her government faced major allegations of electoral irregularities, particularly the 2014 and 2018 elections.
Right, the ones the opposition largely boycotted.
Those are the ones. Opposition boycotts, claims of systematic vote rigging. So you have this incredible economic success story
Running side by side.
running concurrently with this noticeable narrowing of democratic space. It raises that profound question. Was one deemed a necessary, maybe tragic trade-off for the other in Bangladesh?
That's a powerful way to frame her complex legacy. So, okay, with that incredible backstory, this complex political context, what specific statement landed her, a former prime minister, in this serious legal trouble for contempt?
All right, the statement itself, it all stems from a leaked phone conversation that popped up on social media last year.
Leaked audio, okay.
And the alleged statement that caused the uproar was, I have had 227 cases filed against me, so I have received a license to kill 227 people.
Wow, okay. It's quite a statement. But why exactly did that become contempt of court? It sounds almost like, I don't know, dark humor or extreme frustration, maybe.
That's the core question, isn't it? And the International Crimes Tribunal 1, that same three-member panel led by Justice Emdad Golomortuza Muzumdar, found it contemptuous. Now, you're right. In many contexts, maybe it sounds like hyperbole. But in Bangladesh's legal system, especially coming from someone of Hasina's stature, former PM, immense public profile, those words carry enormous weight.
More than just words.
Exactly. The concern wasn't just the literal meaning, but what it implied. A direct challenge to the legitimacy, the independence of the judiciary.
Ah, okay.
The court basically interpreted it as her suggesting that all those cases against her were just political noise, making the legal process void.
And therefore she felt she could act outside or above the law.
Precisely. That's how they saw it. This ruling really serves as a potent reminder of how judicial systems, particularly in places with maybe more fragile democratic institutions, react strongly to perceived attacks on their authority and integrity.
Undermining public trust.
Absolutely. It's the kind of statement that can really erode public trust in the rule of law.
And this sentence, of course, it isn't happening in a vacuum, is it? It's landing right in the middle of an already pivotal, really turbulent time for Bangladesh.
Extremely turbulent.
Her resignation on August 5th, 2024, that wasn't a quiet exit. It followed massive, widespread protests.
Huge protests.
Started with students about job reforms, but quickly escalated into nationwide calls for her ousting. Eventually, she flew to India, leaving the country in considerable flux.
And placing this in that wider context, you've now got the interim government, led by Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus.
Right, Professor Yunus.
Tasked with this immense job of stabilizing the nation, preparing for future elections. Hasina's legal troubles just add another very complex layer onto an already delicate political landscape.
Makes their job even harder.
Much harder. This sentence could certainly deepen the existing political divisions. Her supporters will undoubtedly see it as an injustice, politically motivated targeting,
While critics will see it
as long overdue accountability for alleged abuses of power. The narrative around this conviction is going to be fiercely contested.
So with all these layers, the history, the personal struggle, the recent upheaval, what does this all truly mean for Bangladesh's political future? What are the ripple effects we might expect?
Well, the ripple effects could be quite far-reaching. They could influence future political dynamics in pretty significant ways.
How so?
We could see it potentially weakening the Awami League's position even further. It was such a dominant force under Hasina, but now, without her direct control, the party faces a real challenge to its cohesion, its leadership.
A power vacuum, perhaps?
Possibly. And conversely, this situation could significantly strengthen opposition parties, like the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, the BNP.
Who were largely marginalized before?
Exactly. Largely marginalized, suppressed under Hasina's rule. With the playing field maybe leveling out a bit, they might see a real opportunity for resurgence.
Interesting. And beyond domestic politics.
Well, her ousting and these legal challenges could even shift Bangladesh's crucial relations with regional powers. India, for instance, maintained very close ties with her government.
For strategic reasons.
Geopolitical security interests, yes. Any significant shift in power or internal stability in Bangladesh naturally sends tremors through its relationships with its neighbors. The country really feels like it's standing at a crossroads.
Let's zoom out just a bit then and think about the bigger picture.
Yeah.
We have the International Crimes Tribunal, ICT, which, as you said, was set up with this very specific, solemn mandate for 1971 war crimes.
Yes.
And now this same body is sentencing a former prime minister for contempt. That certainly raises profound questions, not just for Bangladesh, but about judicial independence, the scope of these specialized tribunals. Does their mandate evolve?
It's a fascinating question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it absolutely does raise those questions. What truly stands out here, though, is how Hasina's situation seems to reflect a broader global trend.
Which is?
Holding leaders accountable, even long after they've left office. We've seen similar legal challenges, maybe often on different charges like corruption.
Like who?
Figures like, say, South Africa's Jacob Zuma, Brazil's Lula da Silva, even Pakistan's Nawaz Sharif at various points.
Right, right.
While the specific charges and context differ greatly, that underlying theme of post-power accountability resonates across these cases.
So leadership doesn't equal immunity forever.
That seems to be the growing international expectation, yes.
Yeah.
That even the most powerful must eventually answer to the law. It's a powerful idea echoing across continents.
And just before we wrap up, it's worth reflecting one more time on that incredible personal journey that intertwines so dramatically with her political controversies. You mentioned the assassination of her family. She also reportedly survived an astonishing 19 assassination attempts during her career.
19?
Including a major grenade attack in 2004 that actually caused hearing impairment. 19 attempts.
That's almost unfathomable, isn't it?
It really is. It paints a picture of a life lived constantly on edge, a perpetual fight for survival. And this incredible resilience, when you set it against the accusations of authoritarianism that marked her later rule, it adds such a profound human dimension. It makes you wonder, did those constant battles for survival ultimately harden her? Did they contribute to the very measures that led to those accusations?
It absolutely adds that dimension. You have to think, for someone to endure that level of persistent existential threat, it inevitably shapes their worldview, their approach to leadership.
It must do.
One could argue, perhaps, that this constant pressure instilled in her this deep-seated drive for control, a conviction that only through firm, unwavering power could stability and national progress be truly achieved.
Even if it came at a cost.
Even if that came at a cost to, say, democratic ideals or civil liberties. It's a heavy burden to carry, and it undeniably influenced her political calculus and, ultimately, her legacy.
So, as you can clearly see, the contempt sentence handed to Sheikh Hasina is far, far more than just a legal footnote. It really feels like a watershed moment for Bangladesh, reflecting a leader's incredibly complex legacy, that undeniable economic progress intertwined with serious accusations of authoritarianism. And it's all playing out on a national stage, still reeling from such recent upheaval.
This truly is a pivotal moment. There will be long-term implications for Bangladesh's political direction under this interim government and for the future role of its judiciary, too.
Yeah.
It serves as such a powerful reminder that in politics, just like in life, words and actions, particularly from those in positions of power, carry significant and lasting consequences. They can ripple through a nation for years, maybe even decades to come.
And that brings us to our final thought for you, our listener, to consider. As nations around the world grapple with these difficult transitions of power and the whole idea of accountability for past leaders, what truly constitutes justice in such complex scenarios? Is it purely legal? Does it encompass broader societal reconciliation? And how does the pursuit of that justice, whatever form it takes, ultimately shape the identity and the trajectory of a country, perhaps forever altering its course? We leave you with that to ponder.